Surround yourself with people who are smarter, better, more driven than you. You might have a greatest idea in the world, and that's great, but you're going to see things also, through a straw. You have this narrow focus. I need to get from point A to point B, and because you're so focused, you may not see all the other things that go along with that. You're not going to see the cost of logistics or fuel, or the cost, or the problems with getting it on an airplane and stuff like that. So you need to surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. If you're the smartest, just about everyone said this. I know even Trump said this. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're an idiot.
Hey, welcome to the Leadership Loan Podcast. I'm Jason McClaren.
Hey, I'm Eric Dominijanni.
Hey, Eric, thanks for coming on the show.
No, not a problem. Anytime.
Yeah, so Eric is a veteran, obviously with most of the guests here on the show, and he also has his own brand of scotch, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But Eric, tell us about your background and what led you to join the military.
Wow. Let's see. I was in the Marine Corps. I was an assault officer. So I was a United States Marine Amtracker, as we like to say. And I served from 1997 to 2017. So I'm retired. Enjoyed, the greatest and worst moments of my life, or just all compacted together with, I will be honest, with the greatest moments of my life severely outweighing the worst moments of my life. But I 3 tours in Iraq. I was in Afghanistan for a very short time, 2 times in Okinawa. I did the whole gambit. And again, loved every minute of it. Joining, I was the nerd. I used to play like Dungeons. I was the athletic nerd. So I used to play Dungeons and Dragons, and I ran track and field, and I did Kung Fu and all of this stuff. So I read too many books on King Arthur, the Odyssey. When most kids were reading comic books, I was reading the Iliad. So I grew up this whole thing about I wanted to be a samurai, I wanted to be a knight, I wanted to be a knight, a warrior, if you will, and doing all the martial arts, doing all the boxing, oh, I'm a warrior, I'm a warrior. No, you're an athlete. There's a big difference. You'll have a lot of guys, and no disrespect, because I was one of them. A lot of guys out there is like, oh, I'm a warrior. I go to the gym and I can press 365, or I box every day. You're not a warrior. You're an athlete. You're a gladiator, maybe, if you want to put the right terms. You're probably more of a gladiator than a warrior. So, I just had the bug for the longest time, and I started looking into the military. Wasn't sure which service I was going to join, and just fell in love. The Marine Corps was the most challenging. It didn't offer the most. In fact, the recruiter said, well, all the other recruiters were like, this is what the Army could do for you. This is what the Air Force could do for you. This is what the Navy could do for you. The Marine Corps recruiter's like, do you think you have what it takes to be a Marine? You're like, what can you do for the Marine Corps? And they got me hook, line, and sinker. So 20 years later, I'm retired, and 7 more years after that, I have I am where I am now.
Yeah, I was in the same boat. I was kind of the nerd growing up. I was reading Ender's Game, which now is a movie. And of course that led me to join the Air Force. I was the Air Force, always knew I was going to join the Air Force. My whole high school career did. Navy, Marines, ROTC, JROTC, my freshman, sophomore year. But yeah, so it kind of led me to the same boat there. All right. And then, so you did 20, obviously retired. And then, when you got out, were you like looking for jobs, or did you know you were going to start your own business from there?
When I got out there, I remember where I was about to retire, and the colonel, he was the chief of staff, and he came up to me and he said, so Eric, what are your plans for when you retire? Like, because, with my rank, I was a major, I was working in a higher headquarters, and a lot of people take off their uniforms and they throw on a business suit and they go back making, $120,000, $175,000 doing the same job they did before, So his whole thing was like, what are you going to do when you retire? And I was like, I've been in the Marine Corps for 20 years. I want to do something challenging. And he was like, and he's like, what? I was like, I want to be a chef. And he just like, what? I'm like, it's true. Actually, I've always wanted to be a chef my whole life. I've been cooking since I was a kid. So he just laughed at me, and he was actually quite upset. You're a Marine, you officer, you have combat, and you've been to Iraq, and you have a top secret clearance. You need to say it. And I was like, I have no desire. Nothing against GS employees or contractors or the military. I've just done it. I want to do something new. Our comfort zone, a lot of people stay really quick. A lot of people stay in that field because we've grown comfortable with being uncomfortable. So you'll see like a lot of guys that are they get out, their infantrymen, their majors, their lieutenant colonels, and it's like, what am I going to do when I get out? It's like, oh, there's a job in a business suit. Send me to Iraq again. You want to go to Iraq? Well, I'm comfortable there. It's I know what it's like there. So I decided to just go to culinary school. It was a lifelong dream of mine. I'm half Italian, so it's in my blood. I went up against Bobby Flay many years ago. I got offered my own show. I'm in some cookbooks from way before. So I went to culinary school, graduated, and shortly after graduating, I wound up getting injured, so I couldn't pursue a specific route I wanted to go. And I wound up being bored and bored yet motivated, and I got into Scotch, and here I am now.
So kind of going into that bored motivated thing, I think a lot of us, as we transition out, if you don't have that plan before you leave, and there's a lot of transition programs out there, some of them get flack about, people leading them have never served in the civilian world. We won't go into that, but, having that route, before you leave will help because you won't get bored. I think you kind of have two paths you can go. You can get bored and you get in trouble, or you get bored and you actually excel. And I think it depends on your background in the military.
Yeah, that was a huge motivator for me that led me on this path, because I'm smart enough to know that if I sit still too long, a rock in motion tends to stay, an object in motion to stay in motion, an object at rest tends to stay at rest. And right now, for example, I just got my PhD. I'm now Dr. Dominijanni. And when I was done, I was like, I have to go for my next certification for spirits, because if I don't do it now, I'm going to get used to being complacent. And I probably won't look at it for another year until I get that nice spike of caffeine in me or whatever, or, strange thought in my head. So you got, if you don't have the plan, if you do not have a plan for when you retire, you need to at least do something. Take your short little break. But if you take that break too long, you're going to get used to being on break and you won't reignite that fire.
Yeah, definitely. And I know a lot of, obviously I'm not close to retirement yet, but a lot of people that I know that are retired did that, take maybe a month off, little vacation. And then most of the ones I know, they've done whatever their career was, on the side, their little side hustle, whatever. But yeah, I think, moving forward, that's the best way to go. So what's the name of your Scotch? We haven't gotten into that yet.
Yeah, all right. So I am the CEO, the founder, the creator, the owner of, et cetera, of Fior Scotch. It's Fox, India, Oscar, Romeo, or Fior. You can find me at www.fiorscotch.com. And it's a Highland and Speyside blend. I basically created it in my house to, I thought I was going to get into wine. I'm half Italian. I had never thought I was going to get into Scotch. And I just got into it as a fluke. It basically, the whole universe aligned itself. Like there's no accidents. They're just happy little coincidences. If you remember Bob Ross, and that's pretty much what happened with me. The story is like really quick. When I was stationed in 29 Palms, which for those of you who don't know, it's the middle of the desert. There's like nothing but coyotes and crows, maybe, and the crows leave when there's no food. They can leave, coyotes are stuck there. And I was in between deployments, and I get out to, I used to go to LA, San Diego. I would just leave on the weekends because there's nothing there. And I wound up going to California. And the long story short, I got introduced to Scotch by the bartender. Prior to that, some guy, it was just like one of those horrible days where you ask for a hot dog and they give you a cheeseburger. And, like that, just like the whole day is going to garbage. I'm in a bad mood. Some guy bought me a drink, I thought he was hitting on me. And then I realized he was messing with me because he gave me like Malort, and I'm like, And then I get to this bar, and this guy gave me a Scotch. They didn't have anything but Scotch. I didn't know. And I saw, he was like, wow, I'm like, look at all that Scotch. And he's like, yo, teach me. He's like, what? And I'm like, look, I'm an aspiring chef. I know rum like the back of my hand. I worked in the Caribbean for God knows how long. Can you teach me? And he gave me like the equivalent of an omakase on Scotch. And amazing. Honestly, probably one of the most amazing times where a lot of people really don't realize that when you have like a chef or a sushi chef or someone like our bartender, when he's teaching, he's pouring his soul, his happy. He was like happier than I was. He's like, I found a student who really wants to learn, who's interested in this. So he gave me all these little samplings, and I was just like, look, just don't rip me off. I don't care how much we drink. And it was just all samplings all night long. And I learned so much, and I got the bug. And then I went back to Miami afterwards, and then I started my Scotch collection. My rum selection collection disappeared, and it got replaced with a Scotch collection. And then I made some failed attempts at trying to create a really good. It's just an inevitability. I was going to try to create my own blend. I make my own. If you've seen anything out of me, I make my own ice cream. I make my own sausage. I make my own salami. I make my own beer and my own mead. So it was just an inevitability that I was gonna, try to create my own Scotch blend. And the last part of the story is I finally found a blend that I liked, and I had some most of my friends, most Marines, one Navy, some Mariner over. We have dinner parties at my house all the time, and they were like, let's cork it, let's uncork it, let's do it. And we cracked it open, and it's cigars, and we're drinking, and it was just really good. And to see the smile on their face, they're like, "Yo, oh, this is some good stuff, yo." They're all Cretans from Miami. Oh, this is good stuff, bro. And then the bottle's getting smaller and smaller. And then I'm like, so I happen to be lucky, and I have a really good friend of mine from college, Jim Landis. We did Kung Fu together. We were in college together. We took classes together, and he comes down every quarter. And I was just like, you still in the alcohol business? He's like, do you still cook? So I asked him if there was a way to duplicate what I had left in my infinity bottle. And then he was like, yeah, I'll be down and whatever. So long story short, he takes it to Scotland. He has it duplicated, and I wanted about 6 cases. And it wasn't cheap. It wasn't a cheap endeavor. I'll put it that way. And it was supposed to be nothing for outside of my house. It was just supposed to be for me and my friends. It's, I had I'll never forget that when they all came in, we opened up the bottle, and they loved it. They absolutely loved it. Oh, bro, let me get some, let me take some home. And I'm like, it's not for sale. And this is all I got. And then for the next 48 hours, 2 of the guys, Moreno and Solomon, both Marines, they both called me up, and they were like, yo, you need to get this out there. Yo, you need to get this out your house, yo. And I was like, you're serious, aren't you? It's like, you really liked it. And I was like, yeah, we like it, bro. And I called my buddy back, Jim Landis, and so he's like in alcohol, he used to own Hypnotic. He knows everything about, his father brought like Finlandia to America or something like that. It's 4 generations deep in spirit. So I was like, I got a good product. I don't know how to sell it. I'm like, what do you think? Do you think people would buy this? And he's like, yeah. It's pretty good stuff. And, next thing we shake hands, hug each other, and give each other a good game. And now we're in business. It's been a couple of years now.
That's awesome that all that, you had your tribe, they, call it your tribe there supporting you and getting you moving forward. And you guys are doing some stuff on, helping nonprofits with the organization too, right?
Oh, that's a great one. Operation Gratitude. Carolyn Blazek, my like, just want to hug her right now. I have known Carolyn Blazek. She was the start of Operation Gratitude. She started in her garage. She's originally, I believe, in New York and living in LA now. And she supported me and my Marines, for 3 deployments. She supports all services, Army, Navy, Marine Corps, first responders, law enforcement, you name it. But after a while, the name clicks, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I remember you from." And she saw me on TV when I was on the Food Network, and we just became like this. Her son is a Marine now. I mean, he's retired. He's out. But she used to talk to her son about me. He became a Marine. I think he got out as a captain or major, and but I just donated a check a few months back, a little bit more than a few months back, for $10,000, because that woman has taken care of me more than probably anybody else. She'd call me up. What do you need? And like, probably the most fun stories I have in Iraq are probably due to a package that she sent me or my Marines. So it's I'm very grateful to them. Thank you very much.
Yeah, definitely. I love seeing businesses support nonprofits, especially veteran or ones that support veterans. That's great what you're doing over there. And so, is it a portion per bottle, or you just have like a set?
No, we just did a flat because we were trying to figure out. And when you're first starting out, a portion per bottle, she's going to get a check for $1.50. It's or it might bankrupt me, or it won't be significant to her. So we just said, hey, let's just put it in a flat amount. At this point. And I like to give back one way or the other, whether that means I'm trying to link my business with another one, or I would rather use, for example, my friends to do an event as opposed to a group of strangers that I don't know. The Marine Corps took care of me. Forget about the Marine Corps taking care of me. My Marines took care of me. And I try to take care of them, whether it's my specific Marine who worked for me, or another Marine, or a soldier, or an airman, or something like that. So I like to say not necessarily spread the wealth, but spread the open arms, if you will. And if you give everybody a hug, they'll hug you back.
Well, kind of with that in mind, what would be your one piece of advice for a new leader?
You mean military leader or business leader?
Mainly business, not in the military.
Right. In both aspects. The number one thing is surround yourself with people who are smarter, better, more driven than you. You might have a greatest idea in the world, and that's great, but you're going to see things also through a straw. You're this narrow focus. I need to get from point A to point B. And because you're so focused, you may not see all the other things that that go along with that. You're not going to see the cost of logistics or fuel, or the cost of, or the problems with getting it on an airplane and stuff like that. So you need to surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. If you're the smartest, just about everyone said this. I know even Trump said this. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're an idiot. You have the idea. It's like if you're a company commander, you have an idea, and you have your staff help you get that idea done. I want to make a great chicken sandwich. That's all I want to do. So you hire a chef, you hire an accountant for the money, you hire this, and now everybody, let's make this cheeseburger or chicken sandwich or a bottle of scotch come to fruition. So you need to and more important than being surrounded by them, you need to listen to them. At the end of the day, you ultimately make that final decision. But there's nothing worse than having a boss who does not listen to you when you keep telling him this is not going to work, or we need to do it this way. And he's like, ultimately, sir, you get to make the decision. But when it fails, don't look at me. There we go. And humility. You have to be humble enough to know I'm the big boss. It's my company. But just because I'm the boss, someone might have a better idea than me. I ultimately make the decision. I don't have to listen. I need to listen to you. I just don't have to do what you tell me to do, or how. But I will take recommendations. There you go. Just be humble.
Definitely. Like you said, I think that's one of the oldest mantras is, don't be the smartest person in the room. So you tell us about your URL, your link to your Scotch. Any other ways we can get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can. If you want to get in touch with me directly, you can go to Eric. That's ERIC. I don't do the K or the CK. So Eric D at fiorscotch.com, or you can go to my website, which is the best way. If you're interested in buying a bottle, seeing where we're located, ordering a bottle, you can go to fiorscotch.com, and that's Fox, India, Oscar, Romeo. And if you don't know how to spell Scotch, you're probably too young to drink, so you shouldn't be ordering a bottle anyway. And we're available in Texas for those of you that are out there. I think we're at Total Wines throughout Dallas, and give me some other places. It's a giant. It's a country of its own. Dallas, Austin, and et cetera, et cetera. We're located on the Northeast. You can find us in New York, New Jersey, at Georgia, Florida, DC, et cetera, and obviously through online sales.
Well, we'll put all those links in the show notes below, and you can click right on it and go check it out.
Hey,
Eric, thanks for coming on the show.
All right, anytime. You take care.
There are thousands of leadership and management podcasts to choose from. We're glad you chose the Leadership Loading Podcast, a Go Heroes production. If you'd like to support Go Heroes Inc., visit www.goheroes.org. And with that, it's time to wrap up today's show. Thank you so much for listening. We sincerely hope you liked it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with your family and friends. Let's all grow together. Thanks for listening to the Leadership Loading Podcast. Leadership inspired.